So in a nutshell, usually how I introduce myself is I've always been the proponent of what we call self-education. 3 times dropout, 1 time from Singapore Polytechnic as marine engineering, 1 time from Central Queensland University from psychology, the 3rd time from Uni SIM, also psychology. Don't ask me why. I thought I would get all the hot chicks. Didn't work out that way. Wasted my parents' money a lot, and then recovered, picked them back since, and moved on since. What I stand for is I really believe, and I know for a fact, that the only reason why there is an income gap, especially in places, beautiful places such as Singapore right now, the income gap between the rich and the poor, that income gap is caused by something that we refer to from now on as the knowledge gap. You see, the rich people, they know something that the poorer people don't, and the poorer people may never know what the rich people do. Therefore, that explains why the rich gets richer and the poor remains poor. The cycle of poverty, the cycle of wealth continues to grow at that crazy exponential rate. And so when I discovered that, people who have made good things for themselves happen in their lives, what is it that they're really doing differently than others? So I devoted myself to this study, and I found out that one of the easiest common denominators to really propel someone to have a better financial life. I don't know how to make people happier, I don't know how to help people become more fulfilled, but I do know how to help people make more money. Because a lot of people think they want more money.
So that's what you're good at. So
that's what I'm good at. I'm good at getting someone, talking to them for about half an hour, finding out what they like, what they don't like, what their strengths, their pros and cons are, and then I can help them to find out, how they can improve their income. That's where I'm passionate about. And the platform that I use, different people use different platforms. Some people use Forex, some people use affiliate marketing, some people use internet marketing, that's me. Some people teach about gold and silver investment, some people teach about stock market, some people teach about property investment. My forte is teaching people on how to use one of the best ever technological breakthroughs in mankind, called the internet, to really bring up their income levels. So in a nutshell, that's who I am, that's what I stand for, that's what I represent, and that's what I'm passionate about.
Okay, interesting. Alright, so before that, all of this, your interests come up and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
So who are you before this?
Before that?
Then?
Right. The past was a haze. The reason why it's a haze is because the brain likes to hide. It likes to hide things that you don't like. The brain's very good at that, right? And so I don't remember what happened. I don't know whether. Don't even remember whether I dropped out from Polytechnic first or NS first. I can't remember. I think I dropped out from Poly. It was such a haze. My parents nearly kicked me out. Right? I insisted to stay home. And then, I went to NS. In NS, I made a few friends. In national service, I was already involved in this thing called infopreneurship. I was selling info marketing products online, and I was doing quite well even then. But my breakthrough really came through because I was a teacher for about 6 months.
When was that?
That was after my national service. Immediately after my national service,
I
was a teacher. I was offered.
What?
I was EMS, English, Math, Science, Health Education, PE.
Where did you teach?
I was teaching at Toa Payoh.
Secondary school?
No, primary school.
Primary school.
Right. So that was what I was doing.
Okay.
And so, I was doing it for some time. I was offered a contract to become a teacher at the end of the 6 months.
Is it MOE teacher?
MOE,
Okay.
yeah, I was offered an MOE contract. It was not a hard decision to decline the offer because they were paying me as a contract teacher at that time. I believe I was bringing home 1,002 or 1,003 because I only had A levels, right? So it was hard to get by, staying at my parents and everything else. And so that was what I was doing for a while until I had my first breakthrough. My first breakthrough was actually in my sports coaching company because I've always been naturally inquisitive, and I was a PE teacher. I was in charge of the track and field team. I made good friends with a couple of Filipino coaches who was in charge of the track and field team. And then after some time, I set up a company for them, and they began to work directly for me. That was my first taste of real world entrepreneurship outside of internet marketing. right? And then around the same time, I also set up my art galleries, selling oil paintings. I buy them from China, I buy them from Vietnam, and I sell it back to locals and expats in Singapore. That was my beginning. But if I may just digress for a bit, I think that one of the biggest lessons that I've gotten from doing all of these little, what I call micro businesses, is that I learned how to compound my knowledge and apply it to other things. For example, in me wanting to find customers for my oil paintings, which was at first in my mother's living room, because they didn't give me money. Right? They didn't give me money, right? I asked for $17,000. They said no to me because I let them run 3 times from school. Drop out, remember? I had to do it from my mother's living room. So my maid would be cooking fried fish, there's that fish oil, and then there's the China oil painting oil smell in the living room, irritating. But I had to figure out how to get people to come to my mother's living room at Block 46 Bendemeer Road, floor, to come in and buy my paintings, right? So I discovered the power of internet marketing. Now, so I found out that I needed to learn how to do, get traffic to my website. I was using Google AdWords in the beginning, and so a good number of traffic was coming in, people were coming in. But however, I found out that out of 1,000 people who came to my website, less than 20 or 30 people were even inquiring what's happening there. So I found out that this art or science of what we call online persuasion. So it's called copywriting. So I went out there and I learned as much as I could on how to create a persuasive website that will get you leads. So the first thing that I learned, if I just may break this down for the camera, the first thing is business ideation. So I found out a business idea, low cost in my mother's living room. Second, you needed traffic. Traffic was coming in, some people were buying. Third, you need to increase the rate at which people were inquiring. Fourthly, when they came to my mother's living room, about 50% bought, 50% said, I want to think about it. So that made me curious that why would some people say yes and most people would say no? And then the answer to that is simply because you need to get good at not only online persuasion, you need to get good at offline persuasion. Yeah, but it's not manipulation. A lot of people confuse this.
Yeah.
They are so afraid of picking up these skill sets because they're like, oh, I'm not a born salesman, I'm not a snake oil salesman, I can't hard sell.
Yeah.
See, I don't do any of that. You see, in life, if you want to succeed, you've got to be persuasive. You've got to persuasive not only to get someone to buy from you, you've got to persuade your wife to marry you, you've got to persuade your children on wanting to go to school, you've got to persuade your parents to accept you for who you are. So persuasion is one of the things that's very important. But you know what? Persuasion is not taught in schools, not taught at home. So we go about our lives like semi-zombies, and we never break out of this zombie state. We are never taught to think about for ourselves. We always rely on other people's permission to succeed. If you notice that, like permission. People are always like, what would people think of me when I do this? Would my parents be happy if I did this? Would my friends think less of me if I sold this thing? I say, get over it, brother. Get over it. It's time to get out of the zombie zone into that self-thought zone. You've got to get into that zone.